The Arizona Cardinals have fired head coach Jonathan Gannon.
The Miami Dolphins have fired head coach Mike McDaniel.
Fire.
Both Raheem Morris and GM Terry Fontenot have been fired.
The Giants have decided to part ways with head coach Brian Daboll.
We have just learned that the Bills have fired their coach, Sean McDermott.
Black Monday. When the regular season is over and underperforming head coaches are fired and tossed into the sea. Not sure about that second part. Then begins the mad scramble to hire the hot new up-and-coming coach. Or not, because sometimes teams go in another direction, hiring a former head coach with experience. I mean, just because they got fired doesn't mean they suck. Does it? That's what we're trying to figure out. Can one fan's trash really become another fan's treasure?
Today we're looking at hits, misses, and what history says about recycling head coaches in the NFL. And the results might shock you. I mean, they probably won't. It's just a tease.
Retread, the R word of professional sports. You'd think they'd bring stability, but even chewing gum aficionado Pete Carroll didn't last more than one season with the Raiders. Last year, the NFL saw a record 10 head coaches fired. And who's filling those chairs? First-time head coaches historically, about 71% of the time over the last 2 decades. Everyone is always looking for the next brilliant young innovator, the Sean McVays, Kyle Shanahans, and anyone else who's ever seen or touched Sean McVay. Out with the olds and in with the new.
Old and busted, new hotness.
Teams aren't looking for a safe floor. They want a high ceiling, and they're quick to move on, giving new head coaches a median of just 2 years. If they do make it to year 3 but don't make the playoffs, there's a 70% chance they'll be fired. That's an 81% failure rate for new hires within the first 36 months on the job. You'd have a better success rate stepping off a boat at Normandy. And the retreads? About 40 to 50% in that time frame. This season, 8 NFL head coaches are leading their second team. Mike McCarthy is actually in his third. Impressive. He must have won a lot of Super Bowl. The other 24 are former offensive or defensive coordinators, and Dan Campbell, who was brought to life when a bolt of lightning hit a protein shake. While fans often lament recycled names, the data shows that retreads are actually more likely to win a Super Bowl than first-time hires. Before Bill Belichick was winning Super Bowls like hotcakes in New England, he was the head coach of the Cleveland Browns. He led them for 5 years and saw 1 playoff game. Andy Reid spent 14 years with the Eagles and made the playoffs 9 times. He had a lot of cheesesteaks before he had a single Lombardi trophy. Pete Carroll failed with both the Jets and the Patriots before he found success with the Seahawks.
Retread coaches are roughly 30% more likely to find success in their first 2 seasons.
But why? What is the reason? Well, there are a few possibilities. When a coordinator becomes a head coach, they're faced with either taking on double duty or delegating that previous role to someone else. Many coaches prefer to focus on running the team rather than getting bogged down in play-calling duties and stocking the team pantry with beef jerky. And when they do need to pick a coordinator, their pool of possible candidates might be limited, whereas a veteran coach would likely have a longer list to recruit from. Plus, top-tier coordinators might prefer to work with a coach with experience. After all, this isn't really about just one person. It's about building a coaching staff. For some, it might also carry a new level of stress to be the voice of a franchise. Being a head coach means all eyes and microphones are on you. Everything you say and how you say it matters. And for some people, speaking is hard.
To win games, you have to win the game, not lose the game, honestly. And that is how you lose.
Head coaches also have to manage the team owners and the general manager, or an owner who acts like the general manager.
Well, Daddy said I could have it.
Of course, just because you're more likely to find success the second time around doesn't mean everybody does. It just explains why teams would hire guys like Dennis Allen, Frank Reich, Pat Shurmur, and Hugh Jackson a second time. But if we're building a statue to warn teams about the pitfalls of retreads, it would have to be Adam Gase and Josh McDaniels. Actually, Adam Gase on Josh McDaniels' shoulders like they're playing chicken in a pool, and Gase absolutely has to be on top so he can ride McDaniels' shoulders like he did Peyton Manning's.
Adam Gase was dubbed a quarterback whisperer because he worked with Peyton Manning, who apparently sucked at football prior to him. Gase was the offensive coordinator for the Denver Broncos in 2013, the highest scoring offense in NFL history. The Dolphins named Gase their head coach in 2016. After 2 years and a 23-25 record, he was fired. Somehow, the Jets looked at that and said, "Sign me up." They made him their new head coach in 2019. And things immediately got weirder as Adam Gase's eyes made a show at the presser. How he didn't parlay that into some kind of googly eyes franchise is beyond me. By week 7, he had relieved himself of play calling duties. In his second season, he went 13 straight weeks without a win. Gase was fired, leaving New York with a 9-23 record. Josh McDaniels had a similar story. He was the offensive coordinator for the Patriots under Bill Belichick and worked with 6th-round quarterback Tom Brady. Never heard of him. The Broncos hired him as their head coach in 2009. By then, he already had 3 Lombardi trophies under his belt, or in his bathroom. I don't know where he keeps them. He had touched greatness, or at least grazed it. At just 32 years old, he was the hottest young coaching hire that offseason. Broncos owner Pat Bowlen gave him full control over player personnel, which he used to draft quarterback Tim Tebow in the first round of the NFL draft. Tebow was a mechanically flawed prospect who was viewed by many as a mid-round developmental prospect. McDaniels was a bit of a hothead, which is a nice way of calling somebody shitty. The locker room fractured as he lost the respect of the players, and soon he started losing games too. McDaniels only lasted 2 seasons with the Broncos, finishing with a record of 11-17. He returned to the Patriots, where he won more Super Bowls, and when enough time had passed, the Raiders came calling, hiring him in 2022 with a massive 6-year contract that they would not at all regret. Again, McDaniels saw the locker room fracture. The players reportedly held an airing of grievances meeting to complain about him. McDaniels holds the distinction of being the only head coach to lose to Jeff Saturday, who had taken over the Colts on an interim basis with 0 professional or collegiate coaching experience. McDaniels was fired in his second season. He didn't even make it to Thanksgiving. He left with a record of 9-16. These are the cautionary tales of retread head coaches. Retreads aren't sexy, not to fans and not to team owners, who are the ones doing the hiring. But when you're drowning in a sea of failure, anything can look like a life preserver. Even Brandon Staley.
Of course, all the percentages I cited here can be debated. They don't account for nuance. How even do you define success? A winning record? Reaching the playoffs? Just making things better than you found them? Let's add a layer of context to the numbers. Let's draw a line of 5 years or more with a winning record in their first head coaching job versus 4 or fewer with a losing record. What do the data say now?
Historically, there's been a 55 to 60% chance that the coach will have a winning record in their second head coaching job if they met that threshold in their first job. And if they didn't, their chances of success drop to just 10% the next time around. This is the difference when choosing someone like Andy Reid versus Josh McDaniels. And it looks like a no-brainer until you realize that Bill Belichick has a foot inside that 10%. He coached the Browns from 1991 to 95 and had a record of 36-44. That's 5 years and a losing record, followed by 31 playoff wins and 6 Super Bowl titles. I think the problem with these 10%ers is a lack of self-awareness. Whether it's confidence, arrogance, or self-delusion, they seem hell-bent on repeating the same mistakes, as if the first time around, everybody else failed them. This is not a mistake Bill Belichick made when he got another chance.
When we get to New England, we spent a lot of time talking about what was good in Cleveland, what was bad in Cleveland, what went wrong in Cleveland.
So retread coaches are the smarter, safer option for teams, especially if they've had previous success. But history has something to say too, an uncomfortable truth that's hiding in all this data.
And not even the best coaches could overcome it. Not Holmgren, not Vermeil, not even Shula or Parcells. No head coach has ever won a Super Bowl with 2 different teams. The odds are against John Harbaugh and Mike McCarthy, who each won a Super Bowl with their first team. History says they're likely to be good, but not good enough. What do you think? Can Harbaugh and McCarthy break this trend? And what about Retread Kevin Stefanski, now the head Falconer? He's won 0 titles, not even world's best Funkle. He spent 6 years with the Browns and finished with a losing record of 45-56. He has a foot in both sides of the prediction model, and I have no idea what that means. 2 types of pants? Subscribe if you want. I make football videos of varying quality. Bring back Josh McDaniels. I want to play chicken.